Hey guys, it's me, Miss Miller, remember? Oh, well, I'm coming to you from my living room floor today, and we're going to talk about the Crucible. The reason why I'm doing this video is because reading your exit tickets, I know that a lot of people are either confused or just Googling the answers and still getting them wrong. So I'm going to take some time to explain to you some of the characters and some of the plot that's been going on, because I know it can be pretty confusing. So here we go.
Now, I know this would be a lot easier if I was actually on the board in my classroom, but this is all I have, so we're going to work with it. So let's start off with our main character. Who's that going to be? John Proctor. Yeah, so, Proctor. He's definitely going to be our main character. He's our good guy. He is our protagonist, which is the main character. Now, John has a little bit of trouble. He does something kind of bad. First of all, who is John married to? Married to, that is. He's married to Elizabeth. Elizabeth P. All right. But John isn't perfect. He's human. But, so he does something pretty bad, which is he sleeps with someone who's not his wife. And that is Abigail. Abigail Williams. And her uncle is Reverend Paris. And he is the pastor of the church in Salem. What does Reverend Paris care most about? He cares most about his reputation. Even when his own daughter, Betty, is sick in bed, and they don't know why she's sick in bed. Well, Abigail knows why, Betty knows why, and a bunch of the other girls in Salem know why, but Reverend Paris and the other adults don't understand why she is suddenly taken sick, quote, quote. But he is most concerned about the fact that people are accusing what's going on of witchcraft. So Reverend Paris is freaked out about that. So Betty Paris, when we first start Act 1, she is in bed and nobody knows what's wrong with her, quote, quote. However, when everybody leaves the room, we find out that Betty was definitely okay. She was faking it almost the whole time. We find out that Tituba, who is the slave owned by Reverend Paris, was in the woods with Abigail, Betty, let's put Ruth Putnam, Mercy Lewis, her last name's not really not that important, and Mary Warren. We find out that they were in the woods together, and they tell Reverend Paris that they were just dancing. What we really find out is that they were practicing witchcraft. Were they actually practicing witchcraft, or were they just trying to? They were just trying to. Tituba was out there doing her own thing, because she's from Barbados. She's our only black character, and she is a slave. So that's really a contrast between her and the rest of the characters in the book, because the rest of them are going to be Puritans and very intolerant of anything that's different from themselves. So Tituba and the rest of the girls are out in the woods having some fun, dancing around. Mercy Lewis was naked, just for fun. And Abigail does something. Abigail is going to drink chicken's blood in order to try to cast a spell to kill Elizabeth. Because if Elizabeth is gone, she can have John all to herself. Because Abigail caught feelings when they slept together. Elizabeth knows this. Abigail knows this, obviously. But John, he's kind of on the outs about it. He doesn't really realize that when you sleep with someone, she might catch feelings. Let's see. Who else are our other characters? We have the Putnams. I'll put them right here. Mr. and Mrs. Putnam. And what do we remember about them? The important thing to remember about the Putnams is that they got money. Yeah. And their daughter is Ruth, and Mercy Lewis works for them. They are the second richest people in the town. And now, since the Putnams are the second richest people in town, that means somebody has to be the first, right? So that is going to be Francis and Rebecca Nurse. And Rebecca Nurse is the little old lady that you see in Act 1. She comes over to Paris's house and she sits with Betty and she says Betty's just faking it. She's just being childish. She'll get bored of this eventually and she'll get over it. They have the most money in the town and the most land. So whoever has the most land and the most money, therefore has the most power. Mr. Putnam wants to have the most money, wants to have the most land, and wants to have the most power. So they kind of have like a feud going on between them. So, whenever people are starting to be accused of witchcraft, Mr. Putnam uses this to his advantage. If other people are accused of witchcraft and are put to death for it, who can swoop in and buy their land? Mr. Putnam. Therefore, Ruth and all these other girls, whenever they accuse more people of witchcraft, that's an opportunity for Mr. Putnam to get more money and to get more land and to get more power. So this witchcraft thing is definitely an issue. So Reverend Paris sends for an expert, and that's going to be Reverend Hale of Beverly. He is an expert on witchcraft, and he is going to come in and solve all of their problems. So when he comes, he starts asking questions. He asks lots of questions as to why Betty is like catatonic. So first person he's going to ask is going to be Abigail because she was there. And when she can't answer the questions and they start suspecting her, who is she going to blame? The easiest target there is, Tituba. Who are they going to listen to in this situation? They going to listen to a little white girl, or are they going to listen to the only black character in the whole town? They're going to listen to Abigail because Tituba's a slave. Abigail's voice carries more weight than Tituba's does. So when Tituba is accused, they say to her, look, either you've confessed to what you did, because we know you don't practice the same religion as us. Either you confess or you die. So of course Tituba's going to be like, these white people crazy, and say whatever they want her to say in a forced confession. So she's been accused of witchcraft, but she confesses and said, sure, I did it, so please don't kill me. So they're like, cool, awesome. And whenever Abigail and Betty hear that Tituba's been forgiven, they're like, oh my gosh, I know what to do. I know how to stay out of trouble. They start accusing everyone of witchcraft. One of the people they accuse of witchcraft is Rebecca Nurse. They accuse Rebecca Nurse of witchcraft and of murdering Mrs. Putnam's babies. Now, Mrs. Putnam has had around like 9 children or 8 children, and only one of them has survived, and that's Ruth. And Mrs. Putnam thinks that that's super crazy, and she thinks that she's been a victim of witchcraft. So they blame Rebecca Nurse because her family has the most money, and of course, why wouldn't she want to kill Mrs. Putnam's babies? Who knows? There's another character that we haven't talked about yet, and his name is Giles Corey. Now, he's just a simple farmer man. He's about 80 years old, and he's going to be one of our sources of comic relief in this story. He's pretty funny, but he's very outspoken, and he's always going to voice his opinion. So Giles, he comes over to see what's going on whenever Betty is asleep and won't wake up. And he asks Reverend Hale, because Reverend Hale's the expert, remember, he says, why does my wife like to read books so much? And Reverend Hale's like, oh, that's weird. That might be something. It's really nothing. She just likes to read. But Giles Corey thinks that's weird because he doesn't like to read. He's just a simple farmer. So as this starts getting out of control, Giles' wife, Martha, is also accused of witchcraft. Little witch hat. She's accused of witchcraft because she's a woman and she's reading them books. She must be doing witchcraft. Yep, so that sucks. And then another person is also accused of witchcraft, and that is going to be Elizabeth. And she is accused of witchcraft because Abigail, remember, her motivation is to be with John. If Elizabeth is gone, then she can have him all to herself. So Abigail sticks a needle in her own stomach and says, oh my gosh, Elizabeth Proctor did this to me. So they come and they arrest Elizabeth and they take her off to jail. And that is where Act 3 begins. John has showed up to court, so has Giles, and so has Frances Nurse. They are going to clear their wives' names, and they're going to make sure they save them. They want to make sure that the judges know that these girls have been lying the whole time. How do they know that? Abigail told John herself whenever he came to see what was going on. she told him herself in a way to, I guess, get his attention. Another character we haven't really talked about yet is this one, Mary Warren. She works for the Proctors, and she's going to be a pretty important character here in Acts 2 and 3. In Act 2, she comes in and she lets the Proctors know that about 39 people so far in a week have been accused of witchcraft, so this thing is getting super out of control. She also tells them that one person was accused of witchcraft but ended up being pregnant. This is going to come into play later. Because this woman was pregnant, they wouldn't put her to death because they wouldn't want to kill an innocent child. So that woman gets another year to live and prove that she's innocent. In Act 3, after Elizabeth has been arrested, we meet our judges, who's Judge Hathorne. Oh, if I could spell things, that would be great. Judge Hathorne, he is going to be the local Salem judge. And then we also have Deputy Governor Danforth. Now he's going to be like the big boss guy. His authority is going to be what matters most. Yes, Judge Hathorne is still a judge, but he's also in cahoots kind of like with Reverend Paris and with Mr. Putnam and all of that because he's a high society dude in Salem. Deputy Governor Danforth, he doesn't give a crap about them. He doesn't give a crap about their high society. He just wants justice. He's an unwavering to his motivation to uphold the law. And he has no patience for people that are going to try and go against the court. So when Giles and Francis and John show up to try to free their wives and say, hey, all these girls are lying to you, he doesn't have much patience for it. He wants to get to the bottom of it, and he's kind of over it already. So when he asked John in Act 3, why are you here? What is your motivation for coming here today and saying that this court is a farce? John says, well, I want to free my wife, Elizabeth, obviously. I love her. I love her a lot. And I want to free her. And he's like, are you sure? John says, yeah, of course. I love her and I want her to be free. So then Deputy Governor Danforth shares with John that guess who else is pregnant? Elizabeth. Elizabeth ends up being pregnant. And we don't know if that's true or not, but she says that she is. And because she claims that she is pregnant, they can't kill her for another year. So John will have another year to prove his wife's innocence. So Deputy Governor Danforth says, well, you can go home now, right? Wrong. John says, no. Well, my friends, their wives are accused too. And he says, oh, so you are actually out here to overthrow the court. And it doesn't really help that Reverend Paris and Judge Hathorne are kind of in his ear saying, yeah, he's a troublemaker. So that's where we leave off. And that's where we're going to find out what happens today in Act 3. Will Mary Warren tell the truth? Will Elizabeth always tell the truth? Will Mr. Putnam get away with this? Are Giles and Martha going to survive? What about Rebecca and Francis? Is Abigail ever going to get punished for what she did? We're going to find out.
I hope that was helpful for some of you. I know that a lot of you are visual learners, and it might have helped to see it explained on a whiteboard. I wish I could be in my room and miss all of your faces, where I could actually talk to you and ask you questions and see if you understand things and explain them better when you don't, but I can't. I love you all. That's all for that. Take care.